So, well, hello, hello indeed. Welcome into another edition of Chi Time, your conscious living show with Clara Apollo. And as you know, I love to chat about chi. That is my thing. And also, it's pretty much one of those things that Jamie Catto, my guest, is also right up for. And so it's a total pleasure to have him here on the show again. I think this is your fourth appearance, shall we say? And yeah, back in the day when I was just doing radio. But for anyone that doesn't know Jamie, here he is. But he is primarily an artist, an activator, a creator, and a catalyst. He's a musician and groundbreaking filmmaker and facilitator of professional and personal creative breakthroughs. I'd like to say that you're a Taoist scholar as well, Jamie. Is that right?
I'd say scholar would be overstating it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm actually inventing my own ancient Chinese lineage, making up certain practices which are based on Taoist principles and then giving them silly names. But yeah, Taoism has always, of all the isms,
yeah.
Taoism for me definitely feels the closest to my heart and the most efficient and true by distance.
And from that, you were also a Qigong player. Now, this is something that we found out a little while back about that commonality that we have here. But
there's a very good link between Qigong and internal systems of dissolving blocks and things. It's like, it's almost like the Vipassana thing went to India and the Qigong thing was more in other areas of Asia, but a very, very similar internal focus body scan with goodwill to oneself is a wonderful everyday practice that everyone should do, whether they're into Taoism, Buddhism, Tantra, whatever. Like, just the basics of being internal with yourself. We're so externally addicted and focused. Anything that gets us to balance it with a bit of internal listening can only be good, no?
Oh, absolutely. This full body listening that I know that you purport as well. But it's overcoming the fear of going internal and being with it. So you've actually got an album called Internal, which has incredible music on it, sort of soundscapey music.
Just for it, yeah, to invite you in, because you're right, people have a lot of resistance. It doesn't have to be painful, but our culture is so comfort addicted that we think anytime we don't feel absolutely great and fluffy, something must be wrong. And we'll either trying to escape it by going to the fridge or Facebook or some distraction, or we will try and get a session to get rid of it. And I find that it's counterintuitive in the early stages. I don't want to say it's counterintuitive completely, but in the early stages of deciding to be healthy and happy, being internal and turning towards things which feel a bit edgy rather than trying to get rid of them is the ball game. It's the keys to the prison. If you can just be a human, if you want to start off the journey and really take the first great step in the right direction, just to be able to say, I am a human who is willing to feel some of my uncomfortable feelings. I'm not even talking about massive re-traumatizing catharsis. I'm just talking about a bit of edge, a bit of curiosity around that depression feeling or that anxious feeling or that just a little bit of, I'm always saying to my disciples, we don't need to be going deep scuba, just like a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of just snorkeling around the edges. It's not a huge demanding, oh my God, this is going to, melt my whole life. No, a tiny bit of welcoming curiosity and just the low hanging fruit is plenty.
Oh, I love that. And I could sense the compassion there for the human condition as well. Like, being kind to yourself and not giving yourself a hard time. Okay, I've got some traumas in there. I've probably inherited a whole host of things. I've made some mess ups in my life. I've had some joys as well. And it's that spectrum of being that we're here to experience and acknowledge and play with and be kind to. So
absolutely. Like, another word you could call it is awareness. It's like, instead of turning away from things, turning towards things, allowing oneself to have an awareness, a presence with them, even the slightly edgy things. And that's where my wonderful my favorite ever teacher, Ram Dass, comes in, because he distilled his whole life's work really into 4 words before he died, which is, I am loving awareness. And I just want to say something about the third word there being so important, which is the word loving. It's, you know, a lot of people are on spiritual paths, on qigong paths, on meditation paths, where of course they're brilliantly working on their awareness. It's very easy to forget the word loving. And if you only work on your awareness, then because we are all so geared towards success and geared towards sort of criticizing ourselves and have internalized through our childhoods a lot of the negative framing and shaming that we received, if we don't really put that lovingness front and center, then we end up triggering our slave driver. We raise our awareness, we notice a place where we could be doing better, or we're being unconscious. And then if we're not loving, we're like, oh, I'm not enough of a spiritual warrior. Oh, I didn't do enough yoga this week. Or, oh, we run a whole not enough trip on ourselves. So the most important, and I can't stress this enough, you know, the most important factor in all, whether we're doing any of these kinds of practices, is lovingness, is to watch your self-talk, to not ever be exasperated with yourself or treating yourself with a kind of attitude. Because if we do that, 1, it means we're asleep. 2, it compounds what we're trying to achieve. And 3, it's just totally inefficient. When we're loving about it, because these parts of ourselves which are dysfunctional or blocked, they are very young parts of ourselves, and the young parts of ourselves need to be treated with all the patience of a 3-year-old. So, you know, you do bust yourself, but you're like the laughing policeman, and you start treating every single one of your perceived failures as more adorable than the last. And that is the most important thing, that every time you bust yourself, you go, oh, you're doing that again. And if you don't have that attitude, it's really not worth bothering doing it at all.
Oh, I love
really feel
that. It's like
about that.
The laughing policeman. It's using humor. It's also taking yourself lightly whilst you're on this journey. But I was just thinking, because ostensibly we're here to have a little dive into the world that you were inhabiting 20 years ago with that incredible One Giant Leap award-winning rockumentary. I don't know what you refer to it as, but I was watching the making of it last night, actually, because I hadn't seen that. The one that's out on Vimeo, called simply The Making of One Giant Leap, if you want to catch up with that. Not right now, stay here, and Jamie's with us. And it was just like, it's so, what a rich project that is. I'm going to say is, not was, is.
It's still very live.
Very alive. And what was lovely is that you take us on a trip. You take us on the trip around the 20 different countries to the 400 different sessions, and we get the exhaustion, and we get the time that you screwed up a bit because you've been on a 24-hour flight and you tried to record something that just didn't work, and you know the reality behind all of that. But underpinning the whole thing is this unity from diversity. So just what we've been talking about there within ourselves, we have all these diverse components of us, but somewhere there's a unifying factor. And with One Giant Leap, you found, I can see that you found ways of communicating this sort of singularity of being through the diversity of the amazing people that you had involved with that.
That's right. Yeah, like whether there was a mixture of all these different musicians overdubbing and overlaying on the same bits of music, plus lots of different luminaries and talkers and interesting people, from criminals to gurus, talking about certain set subjects. So you give a unifying thing. In the music, you've got the beat and the key. So it's a very easy placebo to express the unity and the diversity musically, because if everyone's playing to the same groove and in the same key, it's all going to fit together. So that's kind of was our glue. And the same with the philosophy side of it, is we made a short film for every one of the tracks and allocated a universal life theme. That was the glue for the narrative part. One song was money, one song was death, one song was sex, one song was time. And if you interview tons and tons of people and then gather together all the best sound bites, all the different diverse people said about death, put them in a pile, and then create an order through them, then the unifying glue is the theme of death. And it doesn't matter, suddenly 1 minute it's an Aboriginal elder, then it cuts to a Quran priest, then it cuts to a kid on a skateboard in LA, then it cuts to somebody at the burning ghats in India. And all these very diverse people but it's the one universal life theme that they're all talking about. So again, it creates the unity and the diversity. It's always good to have, like, when you're making a project, I always find it much easier to break it into manageable lumps. You know, if I'm making a film that's like an hour and a half long, that feels like, you know, when you look at something that's an hour and a half, it can be quite overwhelming. But if you sort of break it down into chapters, jigsaw pieces, and go, okay, that lump works, that lump works, and then you order your lumps, you end up with a bigger thing.
Yeah, no, fascinating. So what's great about the making of One Giant Leap is it takes you through the whole story. But I didn't get anywhere as to how on earth did you come up with this idea? What happened? Where was that seed? Yeah. How did that occur?
It's all very organic and accidental, as all the best things are, non-deliberate. The first seed was meeting Duncan, my wonderful genius partner in One Giant Leap, and us having a conversation where we both passionately agreed in 1996, when I was still in Faithless. We passionately agreed that we loved all the singers and the master players and musicians of the world in all these different cultures, what used to be then called world music. But we didn't really, if we were honest, we didn't really like any of their albums. You could never eat a whole one. Even great artists like Baaba Maal from Senegal, wonderful singer, incredible soaring vocals. We never really enjoyed the albums they put out. You know, they were all seemed like you couldn't quite eat a whole one. We were kind of like having this passionate, as music producers and composers, we were just having this passionate discussion the first evening we met, saying there must be a way to make some music where these people sound incredible. There must be a way to make a musical context to showcase how awesome they are. And Duncan was like, look, I've got a recording studio, you know, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah. And unlike many people, I'm kind of a follower througher. You know, if I say, let's do this, I will call him on Wednesday and go, are you free today? You know? Mm-hmm. So I went down to his studio and I brought with a bunch of different samples and things I'd stolen from different places just to experiment with trying to find a sound. And he had a bunch of grooves and pygmy vocals, and we had all these different things, and we just combined them in different elements and brought them in at different levels. And suddenly we hit upon something. We were like, wow, this is amazing. And just to cut a long story short, it was obviously the gods were with us, because that evening I went home. It was my daughter's second birthday, and there was a bunch of kids and mums and everything at my mum's house. And I went upstairs because a friend of mine had turned up who had a baby as well. And I said, you've got to hear this music we did today. Come upstairs quickly. And I just went into one of the bedrooms and put on this track we'd done. And as I was playing it to her, there was a knock on the door, and some woman I didn't know came in and said, do you mind if I change a nappy in here? It's chaos. I went, yeah, fine. She came in. It's like, nice. So I'm kind of half ignoring her. I don't know who she is. I'm just with my friend playing this piece of music. And from behind me, this woman's voice goes, she goes, what is this music? This is incredible. I said, yeah, we just found this sound today. We were all, I was like really excited. She goes, well, I'm the chief commissioning editor for Sky TV, and we need a track just like this, but the show goes out tomorrow. Could we send a bike for the track? So I quickly called Duncan. I say, this woman, can we send a bike? He goes, yeah, fine. And immediately with the theme music for this thing called Earth Undercover. 3 days later, I get a call from Ted Turner company, which is called the TNT, which is a documentary company in America. It's a big TV channel there, where they say, we're doing this movie, we haven't found the right music, you're thinking, can we fly you to Los Angeles to do the film score for this? So like within a few days, we've got the theme music on some Sky thing. Then we're going to Los Angeles to do the Dying to Tell the Story soundtrack. Then I get back, and another coincidental meeting with Robbie Williams' management ends up with them wanting to manage this project. And we had a deal with Chris Blackwell, who signed Bob Marley and U2 within another few weeks. It all just kind of came together. And then we didn't really have a plan to go around the world. You're asking me what was the seed for this great idea of multi-philosophy, all that stuff, was again because Chris Blackwell said, look, there's this new thing coming out called DVD. And we're not just a music company anymore. We're a film company, Palm Pictures. So Jamie, we love your videos for Faithless and everything. We need you to come up with a film idea to go with this album. So me and Duncan went to the Acton Grill. And I remember I had actually wanted to do a similar film years earlier called Worlds Collide, of different artists choosing a world music artist to collaborate with, and we would go and film it. And I remember inviting David Byrne from Talking Heads to do it. And he wrote me a very beautiful letter saying, to be honest, Jamie, I'm going to say no, not because I don't love, everything you're about, but it's actually not very interesting to film artists together, plugging in instruments and working things. It's not actually going to make for a very interesting film. And he was very right. So me and Duncan were talking about that. We don't just want to go around the world filming ourselves make this album. And then we were like, wait, though, if we allocated each one of the tracks a philosophical theme, then we could include all our favorite authors, all our favorite spiritual people, all our favorite random people we're going to meet along the way, actors, whoever. We're like, oh, that sounds really cool. And it's DVD and it's got chapters. So why don't we make a film album? So each song has a philosophical theme. It's like, as a film album, it's death, God, sex, money. It'll be like 12 films, just like an album has 12 tracks, and you can watch them in any order. We all got really excited, went back to Chris Blackwell, said it to them. They went, amazing, let's do that. And we said, okay, well, how much, what's the budget, And they said, oh, we've never done anything like this before. Just call us when you need more money. So that's what we did. They bought us a round the world ticket. They started us off with an artist they managed. Luckily, they managed Baaba Maal, which was totally coincidental. Baaba Maal in Senegal. So they said, start in Senegal. We'll set you up with Baaba Maal and different sessions with his drummers and the families in the villages outside of Senegal, in Dakar and all these other places. And then we can go to Ghana and work with the Mustafa Teti Adi drummers in Kokrobite. And we just kind of just leapfrogged our way around the world. We didn't come back for like 6.5 months. We didn't have one day off. And we went, where did we go? We went from London to Senegal, to Ghana, to Uganda, to South Africa, to Mali, other African places, then across to India, to Bangalore, to Delhi, to Mumbai, to all the places in the south, and Pushkar and all the sacred places, and up north to Darjeeling, then through Nepal. And then further across, we went to Thailand, tried all the musicians around there, and in Asia, and then off to Australia, then across Australia, then to New Zealand, and worked with all the Maori tribal, incredible people. And then from New Zealand to Los Angeles, and then all across America with all the main celebrity kind of people that we work with, Michael Stipe and Alanis and Dennis Hopper and Santana and all those kinds of people. And then all the way to New York, where we finally found Kurt Vonnegut, which was the great like cherry on the cake for me. And then back to England. Yeah, we didn't have any days off in a long time. We were exhausted, but it was really fun pushing the technology and editing our little video diaries and putting them on our website with these 1-inch by 2-inch screens, because that's all you could upload at those times. It took you 4 hours to upload 30 seconds worth of 2 inches by 1 inch to go on the website of a little video diary, all pixelated,
Oh, I love the energy. All of this is you're reliving it, remembering and sharing with us. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was cutting edge technology then. And was it that you were able to also run the recordings? You will run the laptop off a 12-volt battery, so you could actually go out away from mainstream and go and record in the bush, so to speak.
That's right. Duncan made the mixing desk. He did a connector thing to go to these camera belt batteries that journalists use to keep their video cameras going. And so he managed to make the laptop and the mixing desk run from those same batteries. So we had like 6 hours worth of power in the jungle on the top of the mountain. And you could go to really remote places. And I remember, because we started the trip in September 99 and we ended the trip in like May or June 2000, for New Year's Eve, the millennium, we happened to be by then in Sikkim, which is a little country that has been annexed by India now, but it was its own country, a bit like Tibet in its own rights, where all the sort of ancient Tibetan Buddhist monasteries are when they all had to flee Tibet. So we were in this tiny village in Sikkim with these goat herders dancing around the fire, right high up in the Himalayas on New Year's Eve. And it was we were meditating, but it was such an amazing feeling to be in this kind of one of those places where the clouds are beneath you and you can see the sort of mountaintops peeking out through. We're standing there in the evening, seeing all the stars and the clouds beneath us, and this fire, big stack of sort of logs with all these shepherds dancing around. Not a lot of them. There was like 4 or 5 of them. It was not a big scene. It was only 7 of us there. But you could feel, because you were right up in the Himalayas looking down, you could feel almost like the whole planet beneath you partying as it went into New Year's Eve. Like somewhere is Italy, somewhere is Morocco, somewhere is Chicago. But we were just in nowhere, like on the moon, you know, like almost feeling like we were on the top of the globe as the millennium happened. And we were just sort of in this peaceful kind of, we were feeling pretty spiritual at the time. And I don't mean like busy, but just like, it's a hard place. Sikkim's a hard place not to feel the vibration, the chi of all the spiritual practice that's gone on there. It's very much humming in the Himalayas.
It feels like a really blessed trip, like it was meant to happen, and you stepped into the energy of that. This is occurring because of, then, as you explain, what happened straight afterwards is like, it was like, yeah, we're meant to be doing this. And were you like amazed by the synergy of how the music just, you know, worked across the different cultures? And it was just like, whoa, listen to that. I mean, in that film, the making of One Giant Leap, you've got your headphones on, you and Duncan and whoever's doing the music, and
I was in awe. I was in awe, but I wasn't amazed. Like, amazed implies surprise and not wanting to sound arrogant. But I knew the moment we had this idea that it was definitely going to work. It was definitely going to be amazing. I'd never had a shred of doubt. I mean, there's a bit in the making of where me and Duncan are having an argument on the plane where I'm totally trusting, like we'll just do the next thing and the next thing. And I just always felt, as long as every jewel of the mosaic is beautiful, then when we put it all together at the end, it's going to be incredible. I don't know what it's going to look like, but if all the components are incredible, it can only be some version of incredible. It's just a mystery what it will be. But to be honest, I never had a shred of doubt that if you get some incredibly beautiful backing track that we've composed and produced, and you get some incredible singer like Asha Bhosle, or some incredible guitarist like Santana, or drummer like Stewart Copeland, or singer like Leela Downs in Mexico, or whoever, and you put them on an already beautiful track, they're going to do something wonderful. You know, like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and you don't need to know. So this is a big life lesson here, isn't it? Around, you know, there's a basic structure there. There's the seed of the idea that you can feel the passion in your heart. You know this is meant to be happening, but then there's space for it to actually come through in the way that the Tao wants it to. So that you
you don't have a fixed idea. You can have a clear idea, but as long as it's a clear, flexible idea that the Tao might improve on at any given moment. It's like raising a child. Yes. You know, they can seem very scientific or very artistic, and you can really support them in that. But then at 12, they decide, actually, I want to be, you know, looking after animals. Like, oh, okay. You know, it's like to totally be like the Tai Chi version, the water will find the most natural way down the hill. I've always been like that as a parent, you know, like, you want to dye your hair purple? Okay. You know, basically, unless it's harmful or unkind, the answer is yes.
Yeah, go for it. Follow your flow, and then remember the stillness. So this celebrating diversity, I think it's a really important part that we're going through at the moment in the current culture that we are in, with all the different opinions going around, and the confusion and the increase in mental health issues. And I know as a facilitator, you hold a beautiful space for people to come in and kind of be held and be given their walking permission slips to be and do who they are. It's one of Jamie's favorite sayings, or one that you're going to be coming
Stolen from Bashar. I must add, I stole that phrase from bashar.org. That's not my invention.
Yeah, but you're pretty well known for using it then.
Yeah. I'm a big thief. Shameless thief.
So what are we going on this? So I've got some questions. This actually came through from my lovely friend Catherine Dempsey Williams, who's wanted to ask you, what do you make of what's going on right now, and how can we sort of steer the change of what happens next?
What I make of what's going on right now is that I am, you know, alarmed and claustrophobed by our handling of what's going on. Right now, there is so much information and disinformation online, and because we are all tagged and our data has been so collected that we get in our Facebook streams and in our news outlets only things which fit with what we already believe. So the people who are into not trusting the government will be getting lots of things where vaccinations are injecting robots into your bloodstream and you're going to be, it's all a control to blah, blah, blah. For people who are more conservative and conformist, they're going to get things saying these anti-vaxxers are spreading disinformation and they should, and it's polarizing everybody, but nobody's really being exposed to good data that challenges what they already believe. So all it is doing is sifting us further apart. It's not, that's why I'm a really, really big believer that if they're going to do it that way, fine. And that's how the algorithm gets more eyes for your advertisers to make money. And there's not much we can do about that while unregulated capitalism rules the planet. I mean, that's the real main thing we need to change, is that unregulated capitalism is going to kill us. We're going to all die as a species because of the worship of quick money. That's the way it's heading. It's all about the worship of quick money. And if we could just stem the worship of quick money, either by regulation or by revelation, we would have a chance to save the species. But as it stands, the algorithm is sifting us into getting more eyes on our screens for the advertisers by giving you what you want to hear and me what I want to hear and what I already believe. So I'm a big believer that they should, at least on Sundays, randomize the algorithm. So for 6 days of the week, you get what, you get your sort of what you're expecting to get. But on Sunday, you get what the Trump supporters are getting. You get what the carnivores are getting. You get what, you know what I mean? You get a different point of view. And we might, the algorithm that's making the advertisers all that money is doing the opposite of that. And that's a big problem. I also believe that, like the thing I was talking about earlier about comfort addiction, we are a death denial culture in a couple of ways. One, the whole of the media and advertising is based on the idea of trying to turn us away from our terror of death and make everything look younger and more airbrushed, and you can't have wrinkles, and it's culturally this and that. The other problem is that we are in a death culture where a whale is worth more dead than alive. When it's dead, you can chop it up for its blubber and it's this and its oils and da, 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 da. When it's alive as a beautiful whale, it's not worth anything. So we have a death culture which values things when they're dead more than it values things when they're alive. And hence the vibration of that practice is something that is very much heading towards human and environmental extinction. So weirdly, at the same time, we are so terrified of death and so in this cult of youth and cult of survival at all costs that we're doing this rather peculiar lockdown, which would rather fuck up all the economy, even though 99.9% of people survive it, and ignore the fact that the quality of life for 99.9% of people, in order to save the beating hearts of 0.01%, it's just it shows a lot about the mentality of our culture that everyone seems to be very behind it. It's not like, obviously in my Facebook feed, a lot of people going, oh, I hear you, Jamie. But, the mainstream of people still frown at those who even question it. It's very, very strange. It's like life at all costs. And they forget that the depression statistics are skyrocketing, the domestic abuse, skyrocketing, the suicide out of control, and alcoholism. It's like, I've got a friend who's the head of the social care in, I'm not going to tell you which area, a large area. She said to me something tragic this week. She said, Jamie, there's never been a better time to abuse a child than right now, because they are so understaffed that they can't elevate certain cases. She's dealing with a 13-year-old prostitute here, a 14-year-old pimp there. She tries to elevate it to the next level up so it can be dealt with at the correct. And they say, sorry, we're so overrun, we can't take this case. So it just goes by the bayside, and the 13-year-old's still a prostitute taking crack, no one to support her. Also, obviously, the kids aren't in school, so there's no one there to see the bruises. And I'm not saying just child abuse as in sexual abuse. I'm saying hitting them. I'm saying grabbing them too hard by the arm and yanking them where you want them. That's child abuse. And, when you do that to a child, you see 4 little bruises on the upper arms for kids that are grabbed too hard by the arm. No one's seeing kids change for PE at school anymore. It's going through the roof. And that is only the cases that are being reported. Yeah. Add in now all the ones for the 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds who haven't got a number to dial, whose parents are now so bored at home drinking cider, or, you know.
And this is just one side of this catastrophe that's going on. So going back to the algorithms and things, where are the discussions happening? Because there must be truths on both sides of the polar argument. Where are the discussions when one side could listen to the other? And where are the debates going on, rather than arguments and opinions? And my opinion is right, because it's like, hang on a minute, if everyone's got a piece of the jigsaw, can we look at this together? Can we actually take a step back and let go of the cognitive dissonance for a moment? And
not going that way. It's not going that way. I think the only thing that can save us, and I must say I'm not optimistic about it, because the very places that we need to organize, the only thing that can save us really is mass civil disobedience. And I don't mean violent disobedience, I just mean disobedience. If everyone just opens up their shops, it's unenforceable to shut everybody's shops. Do you know what I mean? If everyone just says, we're not doing this. And it might get to that stage, but I doubt it. I think people are very, very obedient, particularly in this country. I'm hoping that the youth, the under 30s or the under 35s, might just go, this is bullshit. You're all fired. We're building a new way. But I'm not counting on it. So it is a mystery. And the platforms and conduits that we need in order to organize to do such a thing are all owned by the people that don't want you to do that. So the moment that you do start organizing on Facebook or Instagram and trying to gather your numbers through online platforms, those online platforms get shut down, or you get taken off them, you get your account deleted. So I just think we've got to keep talking about it and hope that we reach a tipping point of cultural perception where the market research, because the governments also, they do a lot of their decision making through market research. You know, they want to keep power. So X percentage of people believe this. We better do this. It's like leadership through following. So if public opinion starts overwhelmingly be towards, you know, stopping the lockdown, they've got to find a way to do that somehow, otherwise they get voted out, you know. So I think it's going to be through conversations, hopefully, that we make a difference.
There's even like politicians that are standing up and saying this now too, which is
even
very
conservative bar.
I know, but at least they are speaking up. And even if they go on the news, not that I watch it, but I hear that they get sort of placed as being a COVID idiot or whatever. It's like, we got to stop this name calling. We're all in this together. Just as your One Giant Leap film showed, we are all one on the planet together as a culture. We are here because of our ancestors. We're here on behalf of our descendants. And there's a unifying factor that connects us all much more than the ones that keep us apart. And I'd love for us to get back to that. And I think that happens with an individual taking care of themselves. You said right at the beginning, bringing in this loving kindness to yourself, that no matter what is going on, that's the most important self-responsibility that you can come into and build from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to those near you, you know, just to remember, you know, we're so reactive and so self-righteous and so paranoid with our assumptions of what that tone of voice you spoke to me in, you know, to really, really take a step back and just spend 60 seconds a day on empathy. Just remember, everybody on the inside, they may not be showing it, everybody's got a lot of stresses on the inside. They don't mean to talk to you in that tone of voice. They don't want trouble. They don't want a conflict with you. They don't want to hide from you. People are really in survival mode a lot of the time, and just like cut everyone a little bit of slack.
There's a great quote from the One Giant Leap, the making of. I don't know if this was actually in the main one. It's from Tom Robbins, that's saying that if you can live outside of the shadow of fear and greed, you can live in paradise.
Yeah, but you can't put the way to live outside of the shadow of fear and greed is like the only way out is deeper in. You know, you've got to feel what shadow and fear and greed feels like in order to not choose it. You can't just unilaterally suppress and deny it, because it's part of the human spectrum. So you've got to know what it smells like. You've got to go and go, okay, that's what my fear feels like. You can be my friend. I'm not going to let you govern my choices and actions and words and deeds. Ah, hello, anxiety. Okay, I know what you feel like. I can be with that. I'm not going to let my mind grab hold of it and start saying things and choosing things that aren't in alignment for me. I can still feel the feeling without letting it govern my words and deeds. But you can't just go, oh no, we're light workers, we don't do fear. No, we're light workers, we don't do anger and anxiety. You have to make friends with it in the sense that you can tolerate the sensation without letting your mind believe it. With all those so-called negative parts of our spectrum, tolerate the sensation without believing the thoughts that try and control it. That's really the key.
That's super wise, isn't it? Yeah, because otherwise it's just spiritual bypassing, the overuse of positive thinking that is just like a sticking plaster over the problem. So yeah, you're really right about that.
Time for one more quick question.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the experiencing true freedom as being the most precious commodity on the earth. And well, yeah, what do you think? How can we go with that one?
With that one. Well, strangely, I discovered a meditation teacher recently who actually is Oxford based, strangely, where I live, called Rupert Spira. And he said something which I've heard 10,000 times. And for some reason, just the way that he said it found its way into my skull and has really helped me. He said, like there was a woman in one of his video clips that says, I feel insecure in my relationship. And he said to her, well, good. You're right to feel insecure in a relationship because it's an intuition. It's correct. Your relationship is unstable. All relationships are unstable. And if you try and base your stability and draw your sense of stability from any relationship or any amount of money or status, your soul should, if it's healthy, rise up and go, hey, don't do that, because it's not stable. Everything is in a state of change. So what does that mean? What do we do? He goes, I'm not saying your relationship in particular, you might be together till you die, but just like relationship itself is an unstable notion. So he goes, what the trick is, find something in your life that is stable, whether it be your connection to spirit or whatever it is, and base your stability and security on that so that you can actually have some dependability rather than things like relationship, bank balances, status, which come and go. If you base your stability in that, you're going to be in suffering because it's not stable. It's just by the nature of relationship, you're going to have to let go at some point, whether it be when one of you dies or somebody leaves.
This is
Oh, wow, that's so true.
So
then he talks about one thing that is stable. He goes, if you close your eyes and breathe, you have that feeling of being yourself, that feeling. And it's often how I teach the beginnings of meditation. When I get people to close their eyes, we return to the breath. And I say, feel that feeling of being you, that same feeling you've had of being you since you were a little girl or a little boy, that feeling of being Clara, just that feeling of me-ness. That is always been there. And all the comings and goings of sensation and emotion and thought have come and gone and risen and fallen within the soup, within the constant of that feeling of a presence and awareness that is you. So the one thing that I've discovered through entertaining what he said and trying it out is, and it's obvious to everybody listening, go, yeah, Jamie, this is what everyone says. But I don't know why it's just clicked in me. It's like when I close my eyes and I really feel that feeling of just being me and feel the truth that all my sensations and emotions and thoughts rise and fall and come and go within that presence and awareness of me just being here. When I keep returning to that being here feeling, and remember all that stuff's going to come and go, something's changed in me, which is just relaxed. I can't really describe it. That there's something dependable about always being able to just come back to that feeling of being me, which is the only thing I know has been continuous since I was little.
Thank you, Jamie. That was really beautiful, because I often go into the earth being supportive, or my bones, or my, other sort of truths that you can rely on. But that idea of just trusting the me on the inside, that is really lovely, and I'm sure that listeners and viewers have enjoyed that too. So thank you so much for being here on Chi Time again. If people want to find out more about you, it's jamiecatto.com. And I know we've got a track that we'll play out of on the podcast, which is my choosing, from One Giant Leap, which is The Way You Dream. Anything you'd like to say about this as an introduction for people?
Michael Stipe, the singer from REM, was a great champion of One Giant Leap right from the beginning. He was very loving and very kindly said, feel free to use my name to get other people on board. And boy, did it help. And before we actually wrote the song with him, we had the backing track, of course, and we were in Pushkar, and our Indian fixer guy who was helping us find different people in India, he points across the street, goes, "Oh my God, it's Asha Bhosle, the Bollywood queen of, the most famous singer in the country, basically." And I just ran across the road and said, "Oh, I didn't know it was you." I didn't know who she was, but I was like, and she was immediately like, considering she's like Indian royalty, and you don't really run up to people like that in India. She listened to sort of the laptop and said, "Oh, if you just set up a chair over there," she totally got it. She sang this amazing thing, which you will hear in the track now, in 10 minutes. We grabbed a session with one of the all-time great Indian singers, and then Michael Stipe sang along with it, and it was like just one of those wonderful Taoist flows that just by showing up, just by being passion, not doing passion, being passionate, being open to anything that might come and just going with the flow, this extraordinarily beautiful bit of music appeared.
And so much better the world is for it. Thank you, Jamie, and to Duncan too, if he's going to watch this. But I know that he was an absolutely massive part of this co-production, and I love
Yeah,
that you bounced off
he's the
one another.
kingpin of the whole thing.
Yeah, really lovely. And thank you so much for being here again and coming back with some more of your stories. So go well, my friend. Bye for now.
Thank you. Lots of love to you.